What's up, everybody? It's guubums again, back with the third part of my three-part series guide for ranking every single augment in the game. If you don't know who I am, I'm guubums, competitive player from NA, currently rank 1, and I've noticed a lot of people are obviously asking for augment help after they remove the stats, so I guess here we are. Obviously, not all of this is just going to be perfect. Like some of it is my opinion. I actually even noticed in the past two videos, I got some things that I probably want to change around, but realistically, for the most part, for most people watching this, I think this guide's going to be really helpful. Ideally, you kind of like listen to some of my explanations for it. I won't have explanations for every single augment. Some of the explanations are going to be in the previous videos because if an augment's good at silver, oftentimes it's good at gold, oftentimes it's good at prismatic. That's not always true. And it's good to kind of like know why sometimes it's true or not true. So let's just get into it. I should mention that like if you do have any questions, just leave them down in the description below, because obviously if I can't explain everything, sometimes like there's going to be one-off augments here and there. If you want it explained, I'll try to get to them if they're in the comments. But yeah, otherwise, let's get right into it. Ancient Archives 2. This augment's probably just like a mid-A tier augment. It's really good because oftentimes you can get a ton of direction right away. It does once again require, like with the gold ancient archives and with the silver ancient archives kind of thing, it requires a lot of knowledge about a lot of different lines because you won't always be able to guarantee exactly what you want. And a lot of comps benefit really just kind of a lot from getting a +1 or +2 potentially from it. And certain comps, like for example, let's just say Bruiser, Freljord plus Deadeyes. Like if you get a Bruiser plus a Freljord, then obviously you're in the races. But like it's also important to like get like Shurima obviously is like another really good option. Ionia, same idea. So like it's good to stack two into the vertical trade, but it's also really good that like sometimes you get like one of each that kind of like just rounds out your comp better and also allows you to be slightly more flexible in some cases, right? I will mention as well that like, okay, so balanced budget is the next one. This is like a 3-2 and 4-2 a legend augment. So some of the advice I actually received after the first and second videos from some of my friends was that like the 3-2 and 4-2 legend augments are a little bit iffy just because obviously a lot of different people play a lot of different legend augments. So if they're legend specific, then it's difficult to like talk about them. Obviously, I haven't played a lot of them because I'm not going to be able to play every legend in the game. Most of the time I do play like the meta ones or like the really I guess like strong ones, obviously, if I'm trying to like push high rank. So take some of my opinions on these with like a little bit of a grain of salt. For the most part, I do think I'll still be like somewhat accurate, but it's not going to be like exactly perfect, so to speak. But yeah, anyways, balanced budget, I can assure you I'm accurate about this one. This one is straight garbage. Don't even think about it. Bash and Crown, this one's pretty good. So it gives us Sunfire Cape. I think on 2-1 this is really strong. Obviously, like any augment that gives you a Sunfire Cape in the history of TFT has always been good. So I can easily just put that into A tier. I've personally honestly never taken this one. But I can tell you right now, like even though Bastions are a little bit on the weaker side, like being able to play like 4 Bastions plus like random backline, that'll probably look like Taric, Kassadin, this Augment, so that's +1, and then like K'Sante ideally, but also like Shen otherwise, or like Shen over one of Taric or Kassadin also makes sense. Sometimes you can even play like 6 Bastion if you like get another +1. So like this one is just really good. I'd probably put it at solidly high A+ there, especially on 2-1. But on 3-2, it's obviously gonna be really situational and yeah. Battle Ready, Prismatic. This used to be like S+ tier, but after like 3 nerfs to it, it's probably low A tier to high B tier. I once again, I haven't ever taken this one just because it's a legend specific augment, but I want to say low A tier is probably fair for this. Binary Airdrop, solidly mid B tier. Certain portals that give you items and certain like combinations of other augments that give you items are obviously going to make this really strong. Like this augment just in general scales with the number of items you have. I'd personally almost never take this on 2-1. Maybe the new Petricite Forest, maybe like 5 item opener, in which case you would have like 8 components total, plus this would give you another component, so that's 9 components total. That gets you a total of 3 extra items from this augment alone. That's like the only case I would ever take it on 2-1 pretty much. But otherwise, yeah, this augment, it tends to scale with pretty much game length, so you really want to ideally get it on 4-2 if possible, and it obviously scales with the number of items you have, so augments and portals giving you items obviously is really strong with this. Birthday Present, personally, I've not taken this one. It used to be very strong. It got buffed somewhat recently. I think going into Sai got buffed, but otherwise, I still don't think it's really that good right now. It's a strong tempo augment. Also requires a lot of knowledge about the game because it's like really dependent on how you play tempo, really dependent on like just being able to play strongest board with the options that you're given. Like obviously if it gives you like an Ashe when you're angling AP, you're still gonna have to find a way to play that Ashe because most of the time an upgraded 2-cost unit is going to be stronger than anything you have. However, it's worth noting that like even in its best case, it's probably not that strong, so it's probably like high C tier at best. Blinding Speed, D tier. I'm not even okay. Like pretty much all these blinding speed, you're gonna notice it's like something Arcana as well, something Infinity, some garbage. Pretty much these things that give you 2 regular items, even though they're like synergistic, most of the time are either low C- tier, so like bottom of C, or borderline never take. This is in my opinion in the never take category. I think Some of the other ones are takeable, but this one's straight garbage. Bruiser Crown, top of A. Pretty much very similar to actually Bastion Crown. Very strong on 2-1, and also like it's really strong for just playing vertical bruisers, so 6 bruisers. Obviously, if you hit a Scion on like 7 or 8, like early level 8, level 7, it's going to be even stronger. Most of the time, you're just playing Rek'Sai reroll with this. Put it on probably Lissandra most of the time, but yeah, it's just a strong tempo augment. Built diff, top of A after the buffs. This is like the augment that like, depending on when you're watching this could be like straight garbage, honestly. Currently, it's really strong. Last patch, it was one of the worst augments in the game. Bottom 3 for sure. So you want to really pair this augment with like other combat augments. I talked about this with the old build diff, but it's even more true. Well, it's not even, I guess it's less true for the Prismatic, but like pairing this with other strong combat augments such as social distancing, such as well, you can't, I was gonna say double trouble, but you actually can't do it with double trouble anymore. Yeah, it's going to be really strong. Buried Treasure, this is terrible after the nerfs. It was actually even pretty decently bad before the nerfs, so this one's just garbage. Caretaker's Chosen, probably low A- tier, just generically pretty good. It's also really good, like, because it's only offered on 2-1 and it's not legend specific. This one's good for like, say you want to delay your item spikes, right, or delay your power spikes. Like, especially if you know you're overforwarding, this tends to be really good, just because like, oh, like you don't even care about leveling to 4 early. Obviously, you'll get your component, but like you don't care, and then you want to like pretty much bank up your power and spike it on level 6 and 7, especially level 7. But yeah, this is pretty good. Challenger Crown, this is probably high A tier. Callista, RFC, and Challenge Crown all together is just good. Most of the time you're playing vertical challenges with this, you want to end up putting the Challenger emblem on a 5 cost, most likely Heimerdinger, Aatrox, or the last one, Bel'Veth. Bel'Veth's the most obvious one actually, but yeah, that's pretty good. Cool Pact is probably solid B tier now. It's a little bit tough to play, especially for lesser experienced players, and I can't exactly explain exactly how to play it just because it's like a little bit too complex, but it's a pretty easy top 4 if you're like comfortable with playing it. Curse Crown, these days it's a little bit too risky. I think this used to be one of the better augments in the game. I would actually, okay, for the people watching, it's probably better to just put it in D tier. I think it's too high risk. I think you put too much, I guess, LP at stake when you take this augment. It's just not worth it. Prismatic bulk is bad, unfortunately. Compared to gold and especially silver, this augment's just a little bit too understated. It's not good. Don't take it, pretty much. But it is, like, I would not put it in D tier because in a lot of cases it actually is takeable, but for the most part, it's a little bit too understated. So it's unfortunate. This is definitely probably like a mid A tier augment. Just very generic, honestly. It rises to like S++ tier in certain comps, such as like Noxus comp, where you need it for like Darius and Katarina, but I'd say for the most part, like holistically, it's definitely not nearly that strong. The upside is really high. Obviously, you do want items on as many units as possible when you have this, but yeah, I mean, it's like, it's pretty good. Deadeye thing, Deadeye Crown, maybe D. No, it's not never take, but it's like, this thing is really bad. Demacia Crown, currently is almost certainly, I mean, it's definitely a D tier because like, okay, it gives you a Garen, you don't even want a Garen, gives you a Stone Plate, you barely want a Stone Plate, and you certainly don't want to play Demacia, so this is straight garbage. Double Troubles as plus tier in the current meta because of Talia. It's also really good with Trickster's Glass. It's also really good with Callista, and you can play like Callista Gwen, duo carry. And this horse is probably the first S plus tier augment of the tier list. I think this one's just S. This one's just really good generically. Oftentimes, when you're taking this, you can just start filling out your board with a bunch of random garbage. Obviously, you have 3 extra slots. In this one, stuff like TG is going to be better. Stuff like Aura items is going to be better. Another thing is like tank items that like don't need to be on your main tank is going to be really a lot better as well. Stuff like Stoneplate goes down in value, obviously, because you're filling out your front line with a bunch of garbage. So Sunfire is better, Redemption's better, Aura items are better, TG is better. Yeah, so you're just going to, you can play anything with this. So it's just generically really strong. Final Ascension, another legend-specific augment. I don't know exactly how strong it is, but seeing as how all the Ascensions tend to suck, and this one is an Ascension, it's probably not that good, but it is a generic combat augment, so it can never be that bad. So probably B-, C+ tier. Final Reserves, probably one of the best augments in the game right now, definitely top 3. It's going to get worse when 5 costs and Final Reserves gets nerfed, so be wary of that depending on when you're watching this. Right now, all you have to do with this is full open fort until it procs, so until you're at 1 HP, you go level 9, all in at level 9, and then go roll for a level 9 5 cost board and win out the game. Freljord Soul, pretty much straight garbage. Don't have to talk about it too much. It's not that bad, but it's pretty bad. Most of the time, like +1 Freljord is like really mid to begin with because like 3 is where it's broken, not 4. And then most of the time, it's easy to play 3 regardless. Archangel Staff is not really important for the comp. Lissandra is like pretty whatever, so whatever. This augment's probably over nerfed, but it's pretty bad now. It's also legend specific. Golden Ticket, probably a high A tier, maybe at low S tier, honestly. It's hard to say. Definitely a really, really strong augment. It scales with the amount of gold you have, so you ideally want it to be taking this on 3-2 or 4-2 most of the time. If you do take it on 2-1, make sure that you're playing for a 1-cost reroll comp. For the most part, this is going to be best for reroll comps because you can just stay at a high gold. You never have to like expend your gold leveling, which would obviously kill your econ. You want to be maximizing the gold value of this because the way it reads is that like essentially your gold value for rolls more or less doubles. The math comes out to like roughly about double, including your natural shops. So it's like, yeah, roughly around that kind of level. But yeah, you just, I don't know, just play reroll comps. Gotta go fast, legend specific. I don't know how good this one is. I'm just going to put it in low C tier because I've never taken it. But realistically, don't take my word for it just because I don't know. Gunner Emblem, this one's really strong. Definitely near the top of A tier because it gives you a Runeans, which is a really strong item for Gunners. Gunners is a really strong tree right now. It also gives you a Jace, which allows you to hit like 2-1, 2-2 Piltover. Obviously, then if you hit 2-1, 2-2 Piltover, you can play around Gunners the entire game because obviously you're just trying to angle Zeri at that point. So it's super, super strong. Harm Assist, 3 is really bad, honestly. There's not too much to say about this. It's generic, but it's just not enough power. Okay, so Hedge Fund. I'm going to have to talk about Hedge Fund all at once. Hedge Fund 1 and Hedge Fund 2, so like at 2-1 and 3-2 is pretty bad, unfortunately. At 4-2, it allows you to go 9, so I think this one is like B tier, whereas like these are like borderline untakeable. For the person like obviously looking at the picture, you won't know which one's which, but yeah, this is the 4-2 one. Pretty much if you take this on 4-2, it means that you could probably go 9. It's definitely not one of the best augments to go not level 9 with, but it's reasonable. So Impenetrable Bulwark, low C- tier. It's pretty much just not item grab bag. You don't really want 2 garbage items almost ever. Even, yeah, when it's good, it's not that good. Infernal Contract, mid A tier probably. You generally want to take this when you're playing a reroll comp or if you're playing for placements. Like if you know you're going like dead last, taking this and then be able to make like a 4-cost board on 7 is pretty good. Otherwise, if you're taking it like while you don't have that much go for reroll, if you hit all your 3 stars, this is going to be pretty strong. So just generically pretty strong, but it definitely depends on your spot. So this one's like not a very generic augment, I guess. Invoker Crown is pretty mid, but like definitely acceptable right now. Just play the Invoker line with this. There's not too much else to say. Ionia Crown, same idea, honestly. Pretty mid, but like not that mid. And it's much better on 5 costs. So I'm willing to put it like low A tier. Maybe like, I like mid A tier. It's definitely, it seems better than these to me. Pays to Learn, another legend specific augment. Technically currently S tier. I'm just going to put it on A tier. It's like kind of unfortunate. I don't actually want to put this that high because it is, I already know it's getting nerfed. But yeah, I don't grab bag. It's legend specific. Once again, I don't know how to rate this that well, but it seems really bad. So I'm just going to put it, honestly, this seems horrible. Jewel Lotus, very low S- tier, super generic, usable in every comp. This one's well statted, unlike the gold one, where it's just poorly statted, doesn't give you enough damage. This one gives you a lot of damage. You don't want to be building IE or JG when you have this augment, ideally. But it's still pretty good, even if you do. Just take it if you want damage. Juggernaut Crown, B tier. It's hard to play around Juggernauts right now, but if you can, it's really strong. It's just like solid-ish. Knowledge Download is terrible. Large Forge is mid. Just like standard, you need items, take this augment. I don't know. Level Up is S+ tier. This is definitely better than Final Reserves, and it's probably the single best augment, single best prismatic in the game right now. Same idea, just go level 9, make a level 9 board. Make a 5-cost board, you're chilling. Living Forge, I am not a fan. I personally put it like C-ish tier, maybe like C+, C-ish tier. Not a big fan of this. It's a little bit too RNG dependent. Ornn items or items in general tend to like fall off as the game progresses. So like, yeah, you get one at the start, but then that's just a gold augment. So then after 10 rounds, it becomes a prismatic augment. If you compare it to Freaky Friday, which I'll be talking about later, this augment is just not that good. I personally have it maybe even lower than this, but I know some people think it's like reasonable. Lucky Gloves, straight horrible. This augment doesn't do anything. March of Progress is actually pretty good. I know people think this one's really bad now, but I think like it's super underrated, actually. I think it's pretty good. You play it like same as before. It's not quite as strong, but you have to be a little bit more savvy with it. You have to understand that when you take March of Progress, you're getting so much econ. Like pretty much you obviously never have to pump experience again, which saves you a bunch of gold throughout the game. You can just use this to like roll at any time in the game. So like you're feeling weak, roll a little bit. You're feeling strong and want to streak, roll a little bit. But obviously you can't use your gold to jam levels, so be a little bit careful. I think this one's a little bit tough to play, but it is really strong. I like it in like B tier. It's not that strong, but it's pretty good. A Masterful Job, same idea. It's like around the same level as Large Forge, and they're both like mid B, I guess, like somewhere in this area. Money, straight garbage. Multicaster Soul, straight garbage. Noxus Crown, S+ tier. Giving an IE is a little bit too much. Giving a Darius is too much. Taking this on 2-1 is like one of the more egregious things you can do, just because it gives you so much immediate power right now. Obviously, you can start accumulating your Noxus stacks immediately because Darius is such a strong early game unit. Infinity Edge is pretty good in the early game, falls off a little bit later. It's not like Giga best on slot, but it's definitely really strong. So yeah, this is just simple augment, really. Overwhelming Force, straight garbage. Pandora's items, decent, but you have to be a little bit savvy with it. Obviously, you can't just sit on your items, same as all the Pandoras. I think this one's better than the other ones, but it's not like that much better. Freaky Friday, I like S. It's so generic and so powerful. This is the 2-1-1. I'll talk about the 3-2 and 4-2 ones later. But it's so generic. It's just really strong. Infinity Force can be used on every single unit in the game pretty much, which is like the whole point of it. You get every stat. It pretty much can't go wrong. It's really good for streaking all of stage 2 a lot of times because you have an Infinity Force up on people oftentimes. And then pretty much like once you can stop streaking, it gives you another one, and then you can start streaking on stage 3 sometimes. Obviously, it still requires your board to be strong. It still requires some upgrades to streak as per usual, but it's yeah, just a generically super strong augment. For Good Friday Plus, 3-2, this is like insane, but 4-2, it's like okay. I mean, just gonna put side by side by itself. They're both good. Don't really have to talk about it all too much. You get after 3 turns into 4 turns. Next we have Freaky Friday Plus. I'm just gonna put it right next to its friend. On 3-2, it's super strong. On 4-2, it's less so. It does the same thing. But yeah, I mean, pretty much doesn't really have to go without saying it's the same thing as Freaky Friday. Piltover Soul, probably S-. I mean, 2-1 Piltover is just a little bit too strong. Obviously, you're only taking this if you have 2-1 Piltover immediately after you take it. So yeah, same idea, just playing around Piltover. Pumping up Prismatic, I think, is pretty bad. It's definitely not untakeable. It's pretty bad. The pacing on it is a little bit worse. I think the gold one is good, once again, as I mentioned previously, but it's like, it's not that good, so yeah. Rogue Crown is straight horrible. Roll the dice, S-, no. A? Very generic, good augment, gives you Radiant TG, just put it on upgrading unit, can't go wrong. It's super strong on stage 2, especially 3-2, 4-2, it's not nearly as good. Rolling for days, string garbage, seeing double, straight garbage. Shadow Isle Crown, mid-S. It's just way too strong. It gives you like 3 super good things. Callista opener, super strong. Static Shiv opener, really strong. 6 Shadow Isle out, all super strong. Shopping Spree, high B tier augment. This augment's like a little bit too hard to play. I haven't had enough experience with it myself, but it is pretty good. So just keep in mind that it's worth playing. It's like kind of like a tempo augment, kind of like a value augment, kind of like rolled together. It's not easy to play. I do really think it's most of the time probably played around 3 cost reroll, but it's a little bit hard. Shurima Crown. Don't believe in this augment that much, but it's not that bad. The thing is, BT and Auction don't really fit well together. You don't want to put your BT on Auction, and later on, you only really want to put this on probably Urgot, and that would only imply that you're playing around Auction to begin with. It's going to be lower after they nerf Auction too, so it's like, I don't know, I'm not even super comfortable putting this super high. Slayer Spat, right now it's bad, but like, it can be good. So I'm just going to put it in C tier. If vertical Slayers are good, it's good. If Slayer comps are good, it's good. But yeah. Social Distancing, super generic, super strong. Honestly, Shadow Isle is better than this. Shadow Isle is as good as Noxus. Social Distancing, something better than that. It's definitely like this. Very good, just doesn't even, I don't even have to talk about it. Sork Crown, just put it with its friends. Super good. If you play Sorks, it's really good. Shojin is as good as it gets. Vel'Koz is as good as it gets. Special Supplies, generic, very mid. The items aren't tailored. If the items were tailored, it's probably like here somewhere, but the items are not tailored, so they're pretty mid, honestly. Spoils of War, never take. Starter kit, it's okay. It's kind of like a High Rollers augment. If you get a good tier 4 champion to play around, it's good. And obviously, your tier 1 champ actually has to be relevant. Certain ones are very bad, certain ones are very good. It's hard to say. It's kind of like a High Rollers augment, but it's never that bad, so I'm down to put it in B tier. Strategist Soul is really bad after the nerfs, but probably going to be stronger afterwards. I'm just going to leave it with its friends. Tactician Tools, honestly, this might be bad enough to put into D tier. It really is. I guess it really is. Targon Soul, easy D tier. Golden Egg. Golden Egg. D tier. I mean, I'm just being honest. It's D tier. It's just terrible. Obviously, if you take it and you win, it's not really a surprise. Obviously, there are cases where you take this. But for the vast majority of cases, it's much better to not take this. Think Fast doesn't exist anymore. Tiniest Titans. Definitely one of the best augments in the game right now. On 2-1. Untakeable after 2-1. But yeah, it's pretty good. Just standard. Gives you a lot of money. Gives you a lot of HP. It's actually pretty good. Tiny Power Prismatic, not that good, but it's just still generic power, so it's still always pretty good. Training Reward, okay, this one is probably untakeable. The other 2 are takeable. This one is not takeable. Transfusion 3, easy S tier augment. I've talked about this one so much that goes without saying. Unleash Arcana. This one is like takeable, but very bad. Or Scribe Bag. Is this even takeable anymore? No, I don't think so. Sure, I mean, I don't actually know about this one, I'm gonna be honest. I haven't been offered it, obviously, because it's legend specific, so. Void Crown. Top of B. Like, I'm gonna put this exactly. It's probably like bottom of A actually, because it's easy rot. It's like a really good streak augment, but you're playing a mid comp if you take this most of the time. So Wandering Trainer, one of the most fun augments in the game. Definitely mid. Definitely super fun if you want to have fun. Well-earned comforts. This is really good, but it's legend specific, so I don't like. I'm just gonna put it. It's definitely better than Final Ascension, probably around here. Wellness Trust. Okay, this is one of the worst augments in the game. It's only offered in 3-2. But it's actually interestingly kind of broken at the same time, because you would only ever take this if you open forted, and most of the time you're only taking this with 2-1 Piltover. My stats with this augment is average IU 1, I've played it like a couple times on my account. I've also coached a couple people into playing it. Everybody literally only ever goes 1, but it is one of the worst augments in the game. So realistically, it's probably around here, but its upside is good if you specifically have 2-1 built over. So What the Forge, D tier. Zon Crown, Giga Broken, but also super situational. So it's the same thing as Zon Emblem. It gives you like the Hextech Explosion or Chemtech Explosion J4 out, which is obviously really strong. Obviously 6 Zon in general is really strong. After they buff 6 Zon, but also probably nerf some of the augments, it's going to be a little bit iffier, hard to say. But they're making Zon like so much more accessible by like, I mean, just making it the way that we all wanted it to be, which is you can remove the Zon augments. Yay, finally. Anyways, yeah, that's the tier list. If you have any questions, obviously go ahead and leave down in the comments below. I'm going to leave a picture of this in the description so you can refer to it. Once again, it's not like a end-all be-all guide. It's currently obviously tailored to the current meta, so depending on when you're watching this, some of it might be inaccurate. It is roughly ordered. As always, feel free to like and subscribe my video if you liked it or if you found it helpful, obviously. And just follow me on Twitch at guubums or Twitter at guubums, and I'll be releasing more guides in the future. Hope you enjoy. Peace.